Hey guys, and welcome to episode number 9 of the Car Flip Show. And in today's episode, it's going to be a little different than the question and answer we've been doing, mainly because we got a YouTube comment from CH Smoot, and I will read it word for word. It says, yap, 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 quit yapping, and let's see you do some flipping. And that's fair, Mr. Smoot. So we got you. We're going to show you actually a flip that I'm currently doing right now. I just bought it the Friday before last. So I'm going to go over this flip currently, where it's at, what we've done, what we're actually currently doing. And I'm going to go over last week where I sold 4 vehicles. I'm going to go over the profit on each vehicle and what we did to each of those. So we're going to walk back in the shop right now. I'm going to show you where we're at on it and what we're currently doing. So you'll see actually a Jeep here. We actually had in episode 8, I believe. We're doing some work currently. Actually, on this one, we're putting these side rails on here. But the vehicle we're going to be talking about today is this 2006 Chevrolet Trailblazer. If you're not a member of the Facebook, the Car Flip Facebook group, definitely be a member. This was a live video, a live Facebook video I did the Friday before last when I was actually at the auction. I showed this vehicle after I purchased it. I gave a rundown of what I thought it was going to need, and one of those things was definitely the front bumper. Now you're going to see that there is actually not a front bumper on here right now. That's because we've removed it. This here is the original factory bumper, of which was damaged in some sort of a front end collision. Nothing major per se, but enough to damage it to a point where it couldn't be fixed. Now this bumper was $140 on Amazon. It was $165 locally, but I had the time to wait. So you could have bought it cheaper if it wasn't the LT with the two-tone color. The LS had like a black mesh piece. I could have bought it for like 60 bucks, but it wouldn't have matched mine. So that's the bumper. This is the replacement bumper. Now these do not come color matched. I'm gonna break something. These do not come color matched. This was black primed when I bought it, but we had it painted. The paint for this was actually 21 and some change, so we'll say $25. Took it to my paint guy. He painted it for 100 bucks. This mounts on like so. Trailblazers are very easy front bumpers to put on. You've got 1, 2, 3 bolts here. There's a clip that would clip in here, and then a bolt here. Same on the other side, and voila, front bumper is installed. I'm just gonna leave it and not bolt it. Otherwise, we had a roar coming from the front left side. On a vehicle, left and right is determined by when you're sitting in the vehicle, so this is left. This was actually the culprit here. This is a wheel bearing. If you're ever driving in a vehicle and you hear a roar coming from somewhere in the vehicle, if you will go around a turn, if you go around a turn to the left where you're turning your steering wheel right, if the noise gets louder, you know it's from the left side. You can normally tell from a tone if it's front or back. If you go the opposite way, as in you turn your steering wheel to the left and you're going this way, if the noise goes away, it also tells you that it's on the left side. Whichever side you're putting more force to, you're going to hear a louder roar. And this here just has a bit of a grinding sound as you spin it. It's definitely not smooth. This was our roaring problem. If you went to Advanced Auto Parts, this is probably $120, $130. On Amazon, I believe this was $60 and some change, so we simply bought that. If you get one that's a hub assembly, it's way easy. You got 1, 2, 3 bolts. This is our new one. You have to go to the back side behind here. 1, 2, 3 bolts. You've got a plug, which is for your wheel speed sensor, the ABS sensor. That's going to plug in. You put your rotor back on, like so. We would then put the caliper on, which is up in here. So we've got a caliper that would mount back on to our perch here. We're going to bolt it back together. Put the wheel on, you're good to go. So for 60 bucks, if you can take off a few bolts by yourself, you can fix this in the house. If you were to take it to a garage or a shop, it's probably a $300 fix, turnkey, if you don't know how to do that. So we've got that front bumper. Inside, and watch your step right there as you walk over. This is one that we had to do some steam cleaning on. Actually, if you'll turn the camera around, this is my go-to if I have dirty carpet. This is a and the brand is slipping my mind, but this is probably $1,100 machine. Really good for getting out stains. So we did our carpet, which has not come out perfect, but it's not bad. That might just be a floor mat set we're gonna put in, or we might dye the carpets. We've got a little piece of trim here that's coming loose. This will be a simple glue. Get that down. We did have to steam clean the headliner in this, but all in all, came out pretty good. This door, as you hear this creaking, that is just gonna be some white lithium we're gonna spray in there. My son was actually riding with me this morning, took him to school, so that won't be in there, but came out pretty good, other than the breakfast that he was eating on the way to school this morning in the seats. All in all, we are gonna get by on this one with just a front bumper cover. So front bumper cover, wheel bearing. We also have a problem in this mechanism here. It's not recognizing when you open and close the door, which the biggest deal on that is when you get out of the vehicle and the radio's playing. You take the key out, the radio still plays until you open the door. When you open this door, it doesn't recognize the door's open, so the radio continues to play. If you open the passenger or any other door, it turns it off. So we've got to figure out exactly what that is. I'm thinking it's going to be in this mechanism here, which worst case, we just have to replace that. So all in all, we're going to do 1, 2, 3. This vehicle's ready to go potentially this afternoon. We're going to walk back inside here in just a moment, and I'm going to run down basically what I've got in it, what I paid for it, and my expected profit. And we'll also go over the 4 vehicles I sold last week and let you know the rundown profit-wise on each of those. So on the 2006 Chevy Trailblazer we just looked at, I'm going to give you some base numbers of what I paid for it and then what I also am going to have invested. It is a 2006 Chevrolet Trailblazer. I have got $2,815 total invested in the vehicle. I did purchase this one at auction, so that is total of the vehicle plus a buyer's fee that is tacked on by the auction. I'm going to have $140 that I paid for the bumper. I paid $100 to have it sprayed, and I paid $25 for the paint. Sometimes I'll buy the paint separately and he'll cut me a better deal, so he only charged me $100 to spray it. I had $25 in paint. I had $34.89 invested in the wheel bearing. I thought I'd paid more, but I had to check Amazon, so it was $34.89. You can find really good deals if you do the Amazon warehouse deals, which is what I did on that one. And then I'm going to probably have somewhere around $100 invested in the door switch latch issue, where my lights aren't cutting off, and the radio issue, so roughly $100 there, which will give me a grand total invested of $32.14.89. Now I'm expecting that I'm going to sell this somewhere around $5,500, which gives me a projected profit on this one of $22.85.11. Obviously, any less that I sell that for cuts into that, but any more, obviously there's more to be made. So it could sell for $6, it could sell for less, but I'm projecting right at the $22.85.11. Hitting 2,000, that's my benchmark, so I think I'm going to hit that pretty easily. Now we're going to get into a few more that I've sold recently. I'm not going to be necessarily walking you through them. We'll put a picture up of the vehicle so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about and what the vehicle was. But the first one we're going to start with is a 2002 Jeep Wrangler. Just sold this past week. It had 127,000 miles. I paid $7,700 for this, which for a 2002 vehicle seems like a lot, and it kind of is. But this one was immaculate. It was really clean, had a hard top and a roll cage, which actually I was able to boost my profit on this one. A lot of my notes here will have minuses, and I'm just holding some fancy sticky notes here. They'll have minus for different parts that I bought. This one actually has a few pluses, which is actually pretty rare. But on this one in particular, it came with a hard top, a tan hard top, which you'll see in the picture, and then it also had a roll cage on top of that. So my plan was just to sell the hardtop. So I posted the hardtop online for $1,200. Actually had a guy come 2 days later and bought it for $1,100. But while it was posted, I had a guy that actually saw the picture of the hardtop and said, "Hey, how much for the roll cage?" And I really didn't know, so I just kind of said, "Hey, how about $300 bucks?" And so he said, "Sure, I'll be there tomorrow." He came and bought it. We helped him put it on. But so $300 bucks plus $1,100. So I've got a plus on this one of $1,400 of things that I sold off the vehicle. The awesome thing about this Wrangler was it came with a soft top, hardware, everything on the inside. So not only did I make the money on the hardtop, which I'll do pretty often. I mean, you get a hardtop, you can get $1,000, $1,100. You can buy a soft top for $200, buy the hardware, everything for a couple hundred. You can come out, you know, $400, $500, $600 ahead. This one, I had everything in the car, so I sold it $1,100, pure profit. $300 for the roll cage, pure profit. On this one, I actually didn't have to do any. It was amazing. I didn't have to do anything. Put it on the front line. Didn't even have to vacuum it. It was good, ready to go. So I added $1,100 from selling the hardtop. I added $300 by selling the roll cage. So basically, let's see, where did I end up? I sold it for $9,700. So I have 77 plus my 11 that I made on it plus my 300 brings my grand total of what I sold everything for to $11,100. My cost was 77, which on that one comes to a $3,400 profit, $3,400, which is obviously better than 2,000. Unfortunately, I have to go to the next one, so I did really good on that one. My next one is a 2003 Ford Explorer. Now this one's a little depressing for me to talk about. I rarely ever lose money on a car, but in full transparency mode, this is one that I sold this past week as well. It had 159,000 miles, 2003 Ford Explorer. You've probably seen the picture right now. It's silver. I mean, it was nice, it was clean. The problem was when I bought it, I didn't realize it had a bad transmission. As I have progressed going to auctions, I'm now driving every vehicle before. This is actually one that even if I had driven it, I might not have known, because you had to get up to third and fourth gear for it to really start acting up, and then you had an overdrive light that started flashing. At the auction that I go to, you can only get up to speeds to maybe get to second and third gear. So I got it home, had an overdrive light flashing. We looked at several things. Ended up it needed a transmission, so no big deal. We buy a transmission, that's going to cut into the profit. I actually bought this at the time of year where it was tax time, so things were selling for more. So this is something that should have sold for probably around $4,000. So I buy the transmission, things got busy. Ended up buying this transmission from a place that only had a 30-day warranty. We installed it and then realized at day 31 that the transmission was bad. Called the place. No mercy, nothing. They said, sorry, like, you're just gonna have to eat it. And so a little depressed on that. We put it in the back a lot. I didn't want to think about it. Time goes along and I decided, okay, it's about time to put a transmission in this car. We need to get it running, need to get it sold. So I bought a transmission for $600, and everyone that we bought has been $600, and I'm saying everyone we bought because unfortunately there's going to be another one that's going to be bought before the story's over. I buy the transmission, we put it down inside the shop. We're supposed to do it soon. One thing after the other, I forgot about it, didn't think about it. Time goes along, it's been over 90 days, and then I'm like, okay, well, you know what? The odds of having two bad transmissions, I mean, really, what are the odds? So we get the transmission, put it in the Jeep. It won't even move. Like the one before, it would at least go for, it'd get up to third, fourth gear and then start acting weird, kind of like the original one. This one, we put it in and nothing. Wouldn't move forward, wouldn't move backwards. We literally had to push it as hard as we could up the little hill in the back, roll it forward. It was dead, like dead in the water, nothing. And there was no warranty because, unfortunately, me being as bright as I am, didn't install the transmission in time again. So then it sits for another 6 months because I really don't want to think about it at all. The thing won't even move now. I buy a transmission. This time we installed it the first day it showed up. Like it comes in and I'm literally like, Rob, like my mechanic's name is Rob. I'm like, Rob, we're gonna put this in like right now. Like don't even blink, don't do anything else. Like don't use the bathroom until the transmission's in. So we put the transmission in. It was good, it rolls, everything was fine. The only other thing we ended up doing outside of the 3 transmissions, which cost $600 a piece. So if you're counting along at home, that's $1,800 just in transmissions. I only paid $1,300 for the vehicle. I ended up putting a thermostat housing on it, very common on the 4.0 that's in the Explorers, the 02 and up. They crack, so we replaced that. Luckily I had one sitting on the shelf that was from another vehicle, so I really didn't have any parts there. Roughly $50 labor and some coolant there, so that was the only good news on this vehicle. So I've got $600 3 times for 3 transmissions that I purchased. I've got $600 labor. I have a mechanic on staff, so I'm allotting about $200 per install. I've got $50 for the thermostat housing, and I've got about $75 just in transmission fluid because I was so excited to do this job 3 times, which brings my total investment on this vehicle to $38.25. And the bad thing is right now is a slow time of the year. Things are not selling like they do in tax time. And so I could not get my $4,000 that I might would have got during tax time. I only got $3,000. So I lost $828. So I had $38.25 invested, sold it for 3 and lost, I'm sorry, $825, not 28. So lost $825, which is kind of a bummer because I don't like losing money. Usually worst case, I'm breaking even, but this one we lost $825. So luckily there are others that I made some more money on this week. Another one that we sold was a 2005 Cadillac SRX. Had 125,000 miles. This is another nice, easy one. It had, let's see, a seat that had to be repaired, had $150 in leather repair, $20 on a detail, paid my detail guy $10 an hour, cleaned it for 2 hours. We had a total of $27.20 invested, and we sold it for $5,500 even, which gives us a net profit of $27.30. So that helps make up for the other one. One other that we sold this week was a 2003 Jeep Wrangler, 181,000 miles. Had a little lift on it. You can see in the pictures. I'm slightly oversized tire. Paid $47.50 for this one. Actually had the entire Jeep painted, and for me, I pay to have it prepped by one paint guy. Then I pay Mako to do the full paint job. So my prep guy charged $300 because it was kind of rough, and then the Mako charged $289 to spray it. We had a detail on this one that took a little longer. It took about 6 hours, so we've got $60. On the detail, we sprayed the bed liner on the tub of this. A lot of our Jeeps, we pull the carpet. This one didn't have carpet, so we just sprayed the bed liner. This one, we used the can spray. It took about 6 cans, and part of the detail includes the spray of the bed liner. So we've got $30 in parts on the bed liner, and then roughly probably about $100 on the mechanical side. Just some quick tweaks, adjustments, looking over. So that brings us to a grand total of $55.29 that we had invested, which gives us a profit of $1,971 on that one. So all in all, a pretty good week. Selling the Explorer, actually, even though I lost the money, it was actually nice to see it go, because I've just been having to look at this thing and just know the, it just reminds me every time of all the mistakes that I made on the transmissions. So if you do have to replace a transmission on a vehicle, or a bigger part that you've bought from a salvage yard or a junkyard, especially ones that have warranties, make sure that you have the work done and completed to give you time to drive it before that warranty period ends. Most salvage yards will give 90 days on the part. They're not going to pay for any labor, but they will cover the part from a replacement standpoint in that 90 days. The one salvage yard that I bought the first transmission from, I didn't realize it was only a 30-day warranty, so that's my fault for not asking. The other two, I guess the other one was my fault because I let it run past the 90 days, and the last one finally was good, so we got rid of it. But those are my flips. Those are some recent flips. Those are 4 that I've done recently, and then that's 1 that is currently in the works right now. So a lot of cars that I will get will need something small, like the Trailblazer needs the bumper, which seems like something big to a lot of people, but it's a couple $100. The wheel bearing only ended up being the $30-something for the part. The labor for me is cheaper because I have a full-time mechanic. For you, maybe you can find somebody that can do that work regularly for you for a reasonable price. But then there are other vehicles like the Jeep that needed nothing. The SRX, that needed a seat fixed. It's going to take you some time to get to know the people that do this type of work, having a good mechanic, having a good upholstery guy, having a good body guy. Those are must if you're going to flip regularly. Once you can get those people lined up, it's a matter of getting the vehicle and then getting those things taken care of by the right people for the right prices. But for me, had a good week, had a good profit. If you can make that kind of profit every week, you can see how beneficial and how profitable flipping can be. For me, I'm doing it in a dealership setting. A lot of people make those numbers flipping from the side. Maybe you're doing 1 a week instead of 4 a week, but there's definitely an upside the more you know, and especially in saving your money on the parts and that kind of thing. So I hope that helps. Maybe you see the inside and how it works on the back end of flipping. We're going to do a lot more videos like this in the future, showing you the ins and outs, trying to have a little more detail on the flips in general. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you in the next episode.